I was trying to decide where to start in sharing my struggle with food. Should I start with the fact that I was chubby as a kid and got teased for it? And so from pretty much the sixth grade on, I decided that I needed to be skinny at all costs. Or should I start with being 14 years old and getting publicly humiliated on the beach for being so flat chested and deciding in that moment that there was something wrong with me that needed to be fixed? Or should I start with the fact that I was an athlete growing up and serendipitously figured out that I could pretty much binge every single night, and because I was exercising so much, I would wake up the next morning and my stomach was flat, which then led to over 2 decades of binging and restricting, with everything from over exercising to diet pills to starvation to drugs. And the thing is that it's all relevant, right? It's all relevant. And the saddest part for me is that through all of it, I was a pretty normal weight range. And so people told me I didn't have a problem. And I told myself I didn't have a problem. I thought I had it under control. I thought I had this little secret of how I could manage my life and control my appetite, and no one knew. And from the outside, I was all smiles and all friendly and looked like I had it together. And in the midst of all of this, I had become a health and fitness expert. So I looked like the picture of health. I had all this nutrition knowledge. I was able to help other people with their health and wellness goals. But I was also that person who could eat 2 or 3 servings of dinner and then lock myself in the pantry and eat a box of chocolate. Or, buy an entire roasted chicken from the store and finish the entire thing in one sitting, or swing by the store after work and get a jar of peanut butter. And I always kept a spoon in my middle console for that very reason, so that I could eat the jar on the way home. Or, sitting there in front of Netflix at home alone, pouring bowl after bowl of cold cereal until the whole box was gone. Like, I was that person too. And, I feel like it was such a lonely place because no one really got it, because I didn't really look like I had a problem from the outside, even though on the inside I had chronic pain, even though on the inside I was so obsessed with food and my body all the time. I couldn't be present with people. I would be in codependent relationship after codependent relationship. I was showing markers for an autoimmune disease. I was in adrenal burnout. I mean, there was so much that was going on for me internally, but from the outside, you couldn't tell. And so it just had me like going through the motions of my life. And I remember, running a health club, again, just looking like together, looking like I was the picture of health, and I had all this stuff going on the inside. And I feel like, it would have just kept going that way. But I just started to feel like a shell of a person. I felt so empty. I felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore. And I'll never forget one day in my car after work, I was in this empty parking lot of the gym that I managed, and I just felt so exhausted. And I felt like what am I doing? What is this life? I was so used to being who I thought I needed to be for everyone else. So used to like trying to achieve something that I felt so lost. I had no idea who I was. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, staring into this empty parking lot, it can't get any worse than this. It can't get any worse than this because nothing looked bad on the outside. Like, why did I feel so bad on the inside? And I remember I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't know where to go. So I just sat there. And after a few moments, out of absolutely nowhere, I heard this voice. And it said, well, if it can't get any worse than this, then it can only get better from here. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but it gave me this feeling of hope. Like, I don't know how to get out of here. I don't know what to do, but I believe there's a way. And, because I had been this health and fitness expert, because I didn't think I had a problem, I also wasn't the type of person that was going to ask for any help because I thought I had it under control. But that moment shifted something in me. And I realized that I needed to get some help, and I mean, we hear this all the time: when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And that's what happened to me because I was so arrogant up until that moment, that I wasn't willing. But I became willing because I was out of options. And, it was soon after that I did meet my first mentor, my first spiritual mentor. And she was amazing. She was this recovered alcoholic who just gave it to me straight, which I needed. Man, I needed that so much. And, she was like, of course you're having a problem. Like, of course you're struggling. You're trying to fix an issue that you have no idea. You've got no idea what it is. And you're doing it with a completely wrong strategy. She just totally called me out. But I needed to hear that because I needed to hear, it's not that you're this failure, that there's something wrong with you, that you can't get this. Is that what you've been trying to do, all the diets, all of the control, all of the restriction, all of the all the things that you've been trying to do, that's just been the wrong strategy. I needed to hear that. And she showed me how to get free from the things that were actually blocking me inside, the things that were actually driving me to food in the first place. And she also helped me to get back to the real me, the real authentic me, to be able to trust myself. And I'm so grateful to her for that because, it was coming home to myself. It was coming home to my own inner guidance, coming home to my body. That's when I really, really just started to notice that the food wasn't so much of an issue anymore. I would notice myself get a tummy growl and look at my watch and be like, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime. You haven't thought about food since breakfast. Whoa, that is weird. Like, when's the last time that happened? Because I was the kind of person who, in the middle of eating breakfast, I was already thinking about what am I going to have for lunch, right? And so, this was just this was a whole new level. Only thinking about food when I was hungry, eating and then getting full and then losing interest in food. Like that's what I started to experience. And it wasn't just that too, my chronic pain went away and my markers for an autoimmune disease went away, and I got free of the codependent relationships, and I just got more in alignment with myself, discovered my purpose. I mean, it was just so much bigger than the food. And this is why I'm on such a mission to help other women who feel like they're just living so out of alignment, just, living for someone else, going through the motions, feeling empty, feeling alone, feeling like a shell, that I get it. I so freaking get it. And you don't have to live that way. You really, really don't. And I didn't even know, frankly, I didn't really even know like what the word freedom, like I didn't even have the idea of freedom in my brain when I was struggling. I just wanted control. I just wanted control over my appetite. I wanted control over my body. I wanted my body to stop betraying me. I wanted my appetite to stop betraying me. I wanted to be able to, stick to my plan of what I wanted to eat. That's as far as I really got. I didn't even have freedom on the radar. And so if that's you too, if you don't have freedom on the radar, if you don't even necessarily identify with having a food addiction or an eating disorder or a binge eating disorder, if you don't, I relate to all of that, and I think that if you're relating to what I'm sharing, then I just really invite for you to start asking yourself some questions of, how is the way I'm being with food working? Just getting honest about that, because that's where I had to start. I had to start with getting honest. And then, my path was that I needed to get some help. I needed to get some clarity about what my real problem was. And I needed a pathway out that wasn't whatever I was doing, because whatever I was doing was keeping me right where I was. So my aim in sharing this video today was to hopefully touch one person in the world who is relating to this, who no longer feels alone. And if that's you, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. You're not alone. And you really can get free.